Hi everybody, welcome to Little-Homestead again. My name is Emily and today I will be walking you through the process of making yogurt cake. I will be taking you through how to mix the batter, bake it, and decorating as well. I will also be sharing a lot of my tips and tricks that I've picked up through my cake decorating career, and they will really help getting some of those little annoying things done. It'll really speed up the process and make it a lot easier. So to begin the recipe, you start off with a traditional white cake box mix. I do prefer Betty Crocker, but the Duncan Hines worked well as well. And you want to still add the 3 egg whites, but instead of doing the 1/3 cup of oil, you're going to switch that out with 1/3 cup applesauce, add a yogurt, and a cup of water. First off, you're going to want to preheat your oven to 350 degrees. And then I always add my eggs first. That way I know if I got shells in there. Sometimes it happens, okay? So you want to basically follow the part of this anyway for the box mix. You want to put in those 3 egg whites into the bowl first. And guess what, guys? I had no shells this time. I mean, I was pretty proud of myself. Sometimes it happens. It's not fun when it does either. They are super hard to get back out of there. And then I usually save the yolks and put them in when I make eggs for breakfast. I don't like throwing that kind of stuff away. Oh, and then I always add the cake mix after that. And then this is the 1 cup of water. I don't use hot water. I don't want it to cook the eggs, so room temp or colder. And then I did a 1/3 cup of unsweetened applesauce. We make our own applesauce in my family, and then we freeze it. So I just get it out whenever I need to. And then we put applesauce in and the water. And then I use the paddle attachment when I mix it. Oh, I forgot the yogurt. That's an important part. I mean, it is called yogurt cake after all. Oh, and I pretty much use any yogurt I have on hand, the single serve. Not too picky with that. I'm going to mix it on medium speed for 2 minutes. Sorry. I do about like speed 4 on my KitchenAid. Oh, and this is going to be a trend. I do not butter and flour my pans. I put parchment down. I spray it first and then I put parchment down and then spray the parchment on top. But I don't have parchment circles, but I make my own. So you basically want to make sure your parchment is wide enough that it would cover the base of your cake pan. I am using 8-inch cake pans in here. And then what you're going to do with the parchment is fold it in half. And increase it. And then you're going to fold it in half again. You want to keep that a really good 90-degree angle. And then you're going to fold that into a triangle. And then a triangle again. And then that makes your little, I guess, small triangle. But what you're going to do is you're going to put the small point of the piping bag in the center of the pan and cut around it. And then when you pop it open, it's a circle. And then just make sure it fits. It does. And just like that, you have your own parchment circles. It's a really good way to get them symmetrical and not have it square or any other weird shape. And then I do the same thing for the other one. Fold in half again. then to make a triangle, another triangle, and then I'm just going to hold it up to the previous triangle because they're going into the same size pan. It's a little bit easier to hold it like that and cut it than to hold it down on the pan and cut it again. So yeah, there you go. We got our parchment circles all ready to go. And I use Pam spray, it's just what I have in the house at the time. So I spray the whole pan first. And then I put the parchment circles down, and that spray underneath the parchment circle helps the parchment circle to stick. And then put Pam spray again, and then I just put the batter into the cake pans. This batter with the Duncan Hines, it just didn't get quite as smooth as I would like it. The Betty Crocker gets really smooth. This one had little tiny lumps in it yet. It still baked fine, tasted fine, the texture was fine after it baked. It just bothers me a little bit. And then I tap my cake pans to get all the extra air bubbles out. Then they got popped into the oven. I just used the middle rack. You can use the top in the beginning to help them rise and then put them down. There's all different ways you can bake a cake. And then I looked on the back of the box to find the cooking time. So I set that for 26 minutes and I just let them bake. And as you can see in the slight reflection of the stove, I am busy doing other stuff around the house. Alright, and then I popped them out of the oven. I did check the one with the butter knife to make sure it came out clean, but another sign is when it releases from the side of the pan. Alright, and then I went to make the icing, and I just used a whipped topping. This is the icing I usually use with yogurt cake, and I also blend in a single serve yogurt into the Cool Whip for the icing. So I usually just fold it together. You can add, again, any yogurt you want. It doesn't really matter. I chose a Chobani strawberry one. And it's not like it's not gonna be like a full force flavor. It's gonna be a subtle flavor. It's just gonna taste a little fruity, nothing overwhelming. This cake also pairs really well with fresh fruit. Sometimes I put fresh fruit in the middle or on top. It really does go really well with fruit. It's a really light, summery cake. Yeah. And then I'm just gonna fold that yogurt on in. Want to be a little gentle. I mean, it's not like it's a fresh whipped cream and it's gonna collapse really fast, but I do tend to be a little bit more gentle because it's definitely still not as sturdy as a regular buttercream, or even the kind like the satin whipped or the better cream that they use in some bakeries. That stuff has a real sturdy structure. That stuff is not going anywhere. And I could have actually gotten another one of these whipped toppings to put in because I ended up having just enough basically to ice and put the border on the cake. I knew I was not going to have enough to put in the middle of the cake as well. So I'm going to substitute Cool Whip in the middle with a jam that I have. And I used, I think that's like a 9 or 10 inch, it might even be an 8-inch board. It's the one I had on hand. It's a little small for what I would use for this size cake. I would try to get another inch or so in diameter. And I put a little smear on the bottom of the board with frosting. And look how easy that popped out. I mean, the bottom of your cake is not going to stick. It's awesome. Alright, there's the jam that I'm going to use. It's what I had in the fridge. It's a Wegmans jam and berry blend, I guess. It's a triple berry. It's pretty good. It has some seeds in it, though. That would be the only thing that is not quite my favorite about it, because I really don't like seeds stuck in my teeth. And I use a 16-inch piping bag from Wilton. I really love the big piping bags. I hate using small ones. I just can't get enough icing in there to do enough roses sometimes, and it's annoying to fill it back up. And I'm using a coupler. That's the part that gets inserted inside of the bag. And this will help you interchange your tips when you want to take like a rose tip off and put a writing tip on, or a leaf tip on. It makes it a lot easier. Oh, and this was my border tip. Sorry, it's a little blurry. I think it's number 25 or something. But you can just look and basically see. As long as it's a star tip and has those jagged edges, it'll work. And then you pop the tip on the outside and screw that little coupler piece on top that holds the tip in place. And then I'm going to fill my bag up. Just be careful not to fill it up too full. It will come out the top. I don't always listen to the line on the bag. I use my best judgment because my bags never have a line on at work. You sort of gotta just figure it out. And then I hold the bag between my thumb and my pointer finger. That's how I seal it. And I'm just going in a circular motion and making what's called a rope border. And this is what's called damming the cake. Your icing is basically acting as a dam and holding the filling inside of the middle of the cake, so it's not going to squeeze out as soon as you put the second cake layer on. I accidentally deleted the clip of me spreading the jam, but I mean, that's not a hard thing to do. I think you can figure that one out. And then you're going to put the other top of the cake on. You want to make sure that the bottom of where the cake touches the cake pan is going to be on top, because that is going to be a smooth surface. The part that rises up is curved. You don't want that on top, otherwise the top of your cake will have a rounded look. So you want to make sure both of the tops of the cake are in the middle. Then some people use a bag and ice it like that. I don't do that. This is how I was taught. You plop all the icing on top, and then you just smear it around. You get to play with the icing a little bit. So I use a straight metal spatula for when I ice my cakes. I smear it around the top first and push it off over the sides. And then when you ice it, you want to try to keep your spatula either straight up and down or straight across, at least for beginners anyway. When you get a little bit more experience, you can sort of push it around a little bit better. But even then, I really try to keep my spatula either straight up or straight across. It helps get those nice, smooth, crisp edges, and you're going to get that really nice 90-degree angle from where the sides of the cake and the top of the cake meets. That is really important when you are icing a cake, to try to have that 90-degree angle and a smooth icing finish. That is the goal I have with every cake I ice, and I will admit, icing a cake is not the fun part. Okay, let's be real. The decorating is the fun part. So I try to get this part over as soon as possible. Yep, and you want to really try hard not to make sure there are no cake crumbs when you ice a cake as well. This one is really easy not to get any cake crumbs in. It's a white cake. The hardest would be chocolate, and probably peanut butter icing or red velvet and cream cheese to make sure there's no crumbs. But this one's pretty simple. So yep, I just stood it up straight up and down, and one around the sides of the cake. And I'm trying to make sure I go straight across, and I scrape my spatula off in my bowl every time. That way I don't get that little extra icing that gets pushed off. It just doesn't make for a clean edge if you don't scrape it after swiping each time. And even though you can't really see it in this view, the top of the cake is not smooth yet. So just take a little bit of time, smooth it off, make it look super pretty. Try to make sure there's no like lines that are going across the top or on the sides. Alright, and then this is me putting the border on. This is a regular shell border. Nothing too fancy about that. You're just going to squeeze and release. Squeeze and release. Yep. Slow motion here there a little bit. Or it went slower. Yep. Top and bottom. As you can see, I do not have a lot of room around the bottom border and where the board meets. That's okay though. And I found some little silver pearls in my sprinkle cabinet at home. So I quick put some of those around the top border. You could use pink sprinkles. You don't even have to put anything on the border. I like that little crunch every once in a while. So I'm definitely a sprinkle fan. I love sprinkles to death. They're amazing. And I do not call them Jimmies. That is not their real name, okay? Where I came from, we called them sprinkles. Alright, and then this is a new bag with a new coupler in it. And this is going to be my rose tip. This is a 1 of 4 tip. This is, I think, the largest size that'll fit on a coupler. Once you go too big, then they don't always fit in the coupler. Alright, and then I found a little red dye. So I'm going to put some buttercream in a bag. I had some in the fridge that I just put in a mixer and got the consistency back. Added a little bit of red dye, just enough to make the icing look a little pink. Yep, that's it. You don't need a lot. Then I put a little bit on top, and I'm going to show you how to mix in the bag. You're going to twist and seal the top with your hands. Make sure there's room at the bottom. Stick your thumb in, and it's all in the thumb and the wrist. It's not too difficult once you get the hang of it. The first couple times, you're probably going to squeeze the icing out of the top of the bag, and that's okay. It takes a little time. But this saves a dish, and this is the quickest way I know how to do it. And that is the pink icing there. This is a rose nail. You're going to need a scissors to make a rose. And then you're going to put the skinny side up, make your base. Bear with me as I'm trying to center the nail in the video clip here. You want to make one swirl completely around for the center of the rose. And then you're going to make 3 petals. Up. So that's the center, and then you're gonna do 5 petals after the 3. Try to work in odd numbers. Obviously, if your rose looks unbalanced and needs another petal, add another petal. No one's gonna count your petals unless they're crazy or you're in pastry school. And then you're gonna do like 6 or 7 petals around the outside. There you go. Just make sure that thin part of the rose tip is pointed outward. That way you get those dainty petals. Then you're going to take your scissors, slide it off of the rose nail. And I made some piles with my extra Cool Whip. And I'm just going to lean the roses up against there. And then I could not find green dye anywhere in my house, so I'm going to use a light pink as my leaves and my vines. I think that was like a number 4 tip that I ended up doing the vines with. Yep, I'm just going to swirl around, add a little connecting swirl there. And then after I add vines, I'm going to add a few rose buds. And again, you're going to want to make sure that the thin part of the tip is pointed up when you go to pipe them. It's just a little plop and swirl. And then I'm going to put the leaf tip onto my light pink bag. I think the leaf tip is a 352. If I'm thinking correct, don't quote me on that though. Yeah, there's the leaf tip. It's like a little V. I just want to add a few leaves over the rose buds. And then I will scatter them throughout the roses. Light pink. It doesn't look as good as green, but it worked. Alright, and then I'm gonna write, so this, I'm pretty sure it was like a 3 or a number 3 or a number 2 tip. Those are the ones I usually typically go for when I'm writing on a cake. And I do like a cross between cursive and print. It's sort of like fancy print. It's never fully cursive. It's not a lot of people, or I should say not everybody, can read cursive these days because unfortunately, you know, the younger generation isn't always being taught that. So I try to do it in between, that way even little kids can write or read the writing. Sorry. Alright, and there is the almost finished product. I also found some really cool edible glitter. I get this off of globalsugarart.com. This glitter is really nice. It's super fine, and it's sort of like a rainbow shimmer. Oh, it's so pretty. I love adding glitter to everything. I did add some scroll work on the side, but I figured I'll show you guys that at a later date. So thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you try the recipe and if you like it.